Hello everyone and welcome to the Kajit channel, or whatever the heck you would want to call it. As you guys know, I am the big Super Quant guy, so I kind of want to show off my baby that I've been working on forever. I put Scotch trackers in it, I put tables in it at a time. That was really bad. Like, if you were around here for 2015, you just know that my Super Quant deck was garbage. I like to say it was good, but it was a 60 card deck that was a fucking mess, and I would like to say I am a lot better at deck building than I am. Like, I know you're gonna look at the extra deck and you're gonna be like, why are you only running one Magnus? And I will explain that in a sec, because this deck has a lot of combos and plays outside of Magnus. Or at least I have made it do that. So basically, this deck, I would say, is best if it's not a Magnus Turbo. Like, my build is a Magnus Turbo, but if you are to play Super Quants and you're here for a competitive deck profile, I will link this guy that actually builds it very well for modern times, because I would say the field spell isn't very good right now, because it's just not very good. Like, the deck is very, very flimsy, and it is so weak to hand traps, and it just doesn't do very good. Like, the deck is really good at being a rank 4 and 7 toolbox, which it does a whole fucking shit. Like, the deck is really good at breaking boards and doing shit like that. And the way I built it is it's kind of like a hybrid mess of breaking boards and then also making Magnus, because making Magnus isn't often enough, because like they will tribute it with Kaiju, or they will Nibiru you before you even make it into Magnus, like that, or they Ash Blossom your normal summon. Like, if you Ash Blossom or Effect Veiler your normal summon against Super Quants, the deck is completely fucking dead. Like, say whatever the fuck you want, but it is dead. It is not going to do anything. And that is a huge problem with the deck. So when you are coming to build Super Quants, don't expect it to be this really, really OP deck. Like, you should have realistic expectations in the fact that the deck has these flaws. And the best way to avoid these flaws is to learn how to play around your opponent and side properly. Because you might get fucked, but if you side deck properly, you should win. You should win. So for my builds, I'm running 3 Fairy Alphan. It is legitimately the combo, the nuts. It is literally the Zordon of the deck. Like, I know it's the Power Rangers, but like, they are literally what makes the deck function, baby. Like, they are what makes the deck do what the deck needs to do. So basically what this card does is it tributes itself. You special summon a Super Quant monster, and then the other 2 get sent to the graveyard. And when those other Super Quant cards are sent to the graveyard, they activate effects in the graveyard. This deck is very, very graveyard focused, and cards like Dimension Shifter really, really kill this deck. Like, I would go against a bunch of duels with my boyfriend, and he would just fucking destroy me at Dimension Shifter. He purposely sides just to duel against me. So Richard, if you are watching this video, I hate how you side deck. You purposely just want to bully me, and it is not fun. So, anywho, I hate his Relinquish Kaiju deck. Anywho, let's get back to the beef. So this guy also has the ability of being fodder for any XZ summon. This is the card that initiates your toolbox, per se. So what this guy would do is basically say, hey, I get to summon a rank 4 or rank 7. And you can do that, sister. You can do that. You can summon your rank 4 or your rank 7. Like, honestly, the 2 best rank 4s, like, you could run Super Dreadnoid, or, for me, it's Super Dreadnoid, or it is Lightning Chidori, or it is, I would say, Utopia Devil. Utopia Devil is an OTK. Just, yes. So So this guy makes all of your monsters that level. So you can instantly give yourself a 4 material Magnus if you want by doing the Dreadnoid play. That is a really good tech in the deck. That's a really good tech in the deck if you want to try that instead of running the Utopia engine. Because the Utopia engine does have its flaws of having a Garnet in the main deck. And I know a lot of people see the Dragoon engine and there's a lot of Garnets. So this guy, basically, it special summons itself by sending a Super Quant card from the hand or field to the graveyard, and then when on summon, it basically lets you send a card from your deck to your graveyard. You usually want to send White Layer to the graveyard. Use White Layer, send White Layer to the graveyard, and then when White Layer is sent to the graveyard, what this guy does is it gives you your alphan, your combo starter. Like, my big problem with alphan is it's luck oriented. You kind of have to roll a dice to special summon the one card, and then the other two are just sent to the graveyard. Your opponent rolls the dice or picks randomly, and sometimes you get red layer on special summon, and if you are a Super Quant player, you don't want red layer on special summon most of the time, unless if you already have a Super Quant in the graveyard, which does happen. There are states and game states where that really does matter, but most times you don't really want that at all. Especially if the field spell's in the graveyard. If the field spell's in the graveyard, special summon that red layer. Like, it helps the grind game. The red layer's first effect really helps out the grind game. So that's what White Layer does. White Layer just gives you your combo piece that you need to really play. I would say, if you have a blue layer and a Fairy Alphan in your hand, most often you would want to normal summon the Fairy Alphan, because you can just summon green layer to get your blue layer in your hand on the field. And you can also put a blue layer in the cycle of your randomized RNG kind of log. I would say Fairy Alphan reminds me of Hearthstone a little bit, because it's like a little bit RNG. Like, ooh, what the hell am I going to get today? Ooh, look at the draw. So red layer, Cyber Dragon, special summons itself, and what he does is he gives you a Super Quant card from your graveyard on summon and puts it in your hand. My favorite target is the field spell, because I've recently... Like, for a long time, I forgot that it gave me the field spell. I was so used to YGO Pro doing that for me back in the day, like 2015. And then when I was doing remote duels, like, I was doing a mirror match, and I was like, oh shit, I can get the field spell? Fuck yes. The main effect about this guy, though, would be the secondary effect of Monster Reborning a Super Quant card, because you want a Monster Reborn your Super Quant cards, because they help you summon your big boy Magnus. Now, this guy is at 2, green layer. So, green layer, basically, he's just here for a name. I know that sounds bad. He has a really good effect of, like, special summoning a Super Quant card, but often you just want to have that discard fodder in your hand, so you don't want to normal summon green layer and then special summon. There's more often than not, that is the situation that I'm in. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to run this as a 2-of, because often it's just a brick in my hand that I don't want to use, because its graveyard effect isn't that good. It just discards a card, draw a card, and it's a worse version of the Danger engine that I'm running. And I'm like, because you have to discard a Super Quant card. Like, if it was any card, it would be kind of poggers. It'd be kind of poggers, but no, it's not that. It's not that, sis. It's not the tea that you want in your Super Quants. Like, green layer's good. I run it more so for a name, for alphan, for the sake of it being a name. Blue layer. This is the second best normal summon in the deck. Basically, you give yourself any Super Quant cards you want. The field spell, and I would say alphan and white layer are usually the cards that I'm wanting. Like, I never search for green layer. I know there are states in the game where I do search for green layer because I want that quick Utopia double, which it does happen. Utopia double saves you games. It saves you games. And you're just like, OTK, boom. You can also go into Link 4 Boral Sword. Like, there's just so much stuff you can do in this deck. Like, you don't have to go into Magnus. You can do other win cons. Like, just going into Magnus isn't enough often enough. So, yeah. Danger Engine. Basically reveal it. Special summon it. Basically reveal it, then shuffle your hand, then your opponent picks one randomly, you special summon it, and you draw. And basically they activate effects in the graveyard. This one just gives you a danger card from your deck, so more discard fodder for the field spell. Because when this card is discarded, basically, you get to add another card. Discard that card. Summon a Dangerous Tsuchinoko or Jackalope or whatever you add. And say you added Tsuchinoko, you already have a blue layer on the field. Instantly rank 3. You don't even need to use the field spell for the rank 3. You just got that. So they're really, really good. But I would say they also are good for their first effect, like the first effect of revealing it. Like, I know that's not something that I see a lot of people do, but it is really good for the draw engine. Like, sometimes you'll have a really brick hand and you're like, oh, I have a bunch of dangers in my hand. And you'll be like, oh, that fucking sucks. No, just roll the dice and hope to gosh darn that you're going to fix your hand, because often you will. You can just trust me, believe in your deck. This deck is very consistent. It's just weak to hand traps. So then after that, I would say Danger Mothman is probably the worst one. It is there for the level 4 because, hey, Utopia Devil. Like, Mothman you could probably take out and put, like, a different, like, an extra hand trap in there if you really want to. Like, Mothman is there, but I would say that's an optional one. Ash Blossom. Really, really good card, but I don't think it's very good in the format because a lot of decks just survive the one disruption of Ash Blossom. This deck does not. You often want to bait it out with like a terraforming or using your Foolish Burial or another effect. Like, if you're going to play this deck, you need to learn how to bait your opponent into wasting their hand traps. Unless if they know this deck. Like, this deck is best being a surprise. Because if they know what every card does, you're gonna lose very often. And Ash Blossom is explainable. It just negates. It doesn't negate. Yes, it does negate. It just stops their plays. If you know the right play to stop, you will often. Oh my God, Monster Reborn! Stop being confused, Monster Reborn. If you know the plays that they're trying to do, you can stop them. Now, this is the spice. This is why I call it Phantom Super Quants, because these guys are discard fodder for this field spell. This guy gives you any of the Phantom Knight cards that you want. You could technically run Rum Launch in this deck and do a Kali Yuga engine. I learned that from my boyfriend. I don't like it. I think it's very bricky. But in Time Thief, it's really fucking poggers. Like, I'm trying to force him to do a deck profile, so hopefully he does that. So what this guy does is basically discard them, give you another Phantom Knight card, discard that Phantom Knight card to give yourself another Phantom Knight card, and just discard them for the field spell. They're your replenishment. Now, these guys, like Red Eyes and Dark Magician, they're there for anime appeal, and I'm just fucking kidding. They're there just for Red Eyes fusion. Like, I'm not playing Dark Magician because Dark Magician's a good card. I know you guys like your nostalgia bait, but it is not a good card. They are both there for Red Eyes Dragoon. The field spell, basically discard a card in your hand, special summon a Super Quant Xyz monster from your extra deck with the same attribute as your monster on the field, and you just need to use one material. It is so fucking good. Pot of Desires, controversial pick. I had a mirror match at my remote dual locals thingy, and they made fun of me for running Desires, but bitch, I won. Most of your cards are out of 3 of, so it doesn't fucking matter. I would say Prosperity is a little bit better, because Prosperity, like, you could get rid of your Utopias because you're not going to always run into them, just consistency's sake. But more often than not, you're not going to be banishing your targets. Like, it might affect your grind game a little bit, but it's still a really good card in the deck. Foolish Burial. Give yourself White Layer in the graveyard to give yourself alphan, or send a Phantom Knight to the graveyard so you can add a Phantom Knight to your hand. So then, therefore, you can discard that Phantom Knight and give yourself Fogblade. Fogblade is Pogblade, and it is poggers, and you should be playing Fogblade. Then we have Reasoning. No. I'm one step ahead. Oh, this card also can send Red Layer to the graveyard, but, like, why? Just Alphon does it, but it is a play that you could take if you really need that boost in. You just need to make your board a little bit better. Like, I have done that before. Like, sometimes you need to do these very weird plays. Like, sometimes you have to play weird plays to get the field going and go around things. Like, don't always just do the same thing. Like, there are some combos that you need to do that I have described, but you need to sometimes play around board presences and do specific plays. So 1 for 1, this just basically sends a super quant card sends a card from your hand. Just give yourself alpha on your combo piece that I was talking about. That's the nuts. Reasoning, give yourself any monster. They declare a level, and you just send the cards from your top of your deck to the graveyard. 1, 2, 3, or technically the bottom, 4, 5, and they choose a level. More often than not, if they don't know the deck, they're going to choose 4, and if they choose 4, they're really dumb because you normally never summon green layer. Ever. So it's just like, okay, you just gave me a free special summon. So, like, I mean, more often than not, because you're gonna be like, oh, I got white layer. My boyfriend knows this deck like crazy. Richard knows this deck like crazy, and I hate that he always chooses blue layer or alphan, because those are like scary ones. Red layer sometimes, like, chooses red layer sometimes. It just determines the board. Like, if you are going to be playing against this deck, more often than not, what I recommend you guys do is to choose level 1, because alphan is level 1, and you don't want your opponent to have alphan on the board. Emergency teleport gives you a blue layer. I wish this card was at fucking 3. It should be at 3. Monarchs could use it. So many decks could use it. Oh my god, give us Etali at 3. I don't care. I don't have a controversial opinion about it. I'm not going to hear your opinion. Etali should be at 3. I have dealt with so many ban hits on this deck. Brilliant Fusion, blah, Sky Striker Engine, blah, 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 Instant Fusion. Oh my god. Just don't question how much money I've spent on this deck IRL, because I have to keep on changing it. Because I have a feeling the Dragoon Engine's going to be hit. And you know what I'm going to do? I haven't even bought Dragoon yet. I'm smart. I'm not stupid. I'm going to wait for the next ban list, and if Dragoon doesn't get hit or vert, I'm going to buy the Dragoon Engine, so I can play it for like 4 or 6 months, and then it gets hit. I would say Monster Reborn. It's just an extender, revive a super quant card. It's really good if you have white layer in your hand and you have a really bad hand. White layers send blue layer to the graveyard, for example. Oh, blue layer is now on the field. Monster Reborn is going to revive blue layer because blue layer is in the graveyard. So hey, I just got a free search. That fixes your hand. Monster Reborn isn't used for what it used to be. It's just a combo extender. It is not a busted card anymore. I would say it's really good, but like, it's a combo extender. This card helps bad hands get better, for my opinion. Double for nothing. Basically, it's Utopia double fodder. Make your monster just OTK your opponent. Double attack. You Red Eyes Fusion. Give yourself Dragoon. Bardiche, or not Bardiche, Brigandy. If you're playing this IRL, you better have the gold rare one. This card basically is instant rank 4 because you give yourself a level 4 on the field. It's a special summons itself, which is phenomenal. Granted, the level 4 super quant, like the rank 4, isn't very good at all. It's okay in circumstances, but it's not very good. Then we have Fogblade, negate an effect. This is such a good card. Just, it stops combos on its own, and it's searchable within the deck. Holla. So then, we're going to talk about the side deck before we do the extra deck. Lancia, this shuts off Virtual World. This shuts off a lot of things. It just says no graveyard. I would say DD Crow is probably a little bit better, but I don't have DD Crow in person. I don't have the Red Eyes engine in person, but I run 1 Twin Twister and 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, because why not? Fuck back row. Fuck it. I will say, this guy isn't very good anymore because of Mystic Mine. Because, like, the one back row card that fucking pisses me off is Mystic Mine. And Grand Pulse doesn't do anything to it, because Mystic Mine is an effect that is an ongoing effect that affects the players. So you basically... absolute bullcrap. This card is really going turn 1 in a match, because basically it says, hey, I already have my board set up, but I'm going to stop you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And like messing with your field. This is really good against dinos. Like, dinos really get fucked over by this card because they're all fucking dinosaurs, and if they can't special summon more than one dinosaur, then they're screwed. Oh, and Phantom Knights. Oh, I should always side deck this against. So I know some people on my side deck against that. Oh my god, yes. Anti-spell fragrance shuts down pendulums. I know pendulums don't do fucking shit at all, but I don't like Triff, so that is how it be. I don't like pendulums, so you are not going to play your pendulums at all. Nibiru, very good against Dragon Link. In person, I main deck Nibiru instead of Red Eyes Fusion because I can't afford Red Eyes Fusion and the freaking Dragoon, and I run 3 Nibiru in the main deck. If you can't afford Dragoon, the Dragoon package, just main deck Nibiru and get rid of the 2, like the Dragoon and the Vert, and just put like 2, I would say 1 Lusty Rex and 1 Grand Pulse instead. Like, this is like just a budget alternative for you. Like, this deck is very, very cheap if you get rid of the Dragoon package and the Zeus. But I would say Zeus is a must-have in this deck just because of how much it exceeds summons. Like, you can't say no to Zeus. Ouroboros. This card is terrible. It is Book of Moon on legs. Like, it is a good card in some circumstances. I will give it that. But, like, no, sister. I'd rather play something else. They should have gave it a better effect, because when it came out, Book of Moon wasn't even that good in the first place. Like, it's still good. It's just like, it's just not worth. Granted, it's like, I only use it as fodder for Magnus, just to summon Magnus. And I will say, if you do get hand trapped, the best play to go into is going into Vert and then summoning a Dragoon, and then next turn summoning an Xyz monster and then turning that into Zeus, and then just slowly grind yourself into summoning Magnus. Like, you need to grind out your opponent. Like, you don't, like summon Magnus if you can, but like, if you can't summon Magnus, do other plays. Like, summon Boral Sword. Like, Boral Sword will OTK the opponent. Like, you have Utopia. Like, you have so many win cons in this deck that are not Magnus that you can survive if Magnus gets hurt. Granted, you have a less likelihood of winning, but still. Okay, so we have Mystical Space Typhoon on legs. It is not the best right now. I will say it's a very good card because it gets rid of back row cards, but like, I don't like Mystic Mine, and Magna Liger, really good card. It pops a monster. I think it's good. It doesn't affect much, but it doesn't hurt Dragoon. But since you're running Boral Sword in this deck, you can get rid of Dragoon. This deck has outs to Dragoon. You can out cards. Like, there are cards to out cards, and this card is so good. It's good, but this is probably the best vanilla. Like, I wouldn't say it's vanilla, but this is probably one of the best weaker Megazords because it is infinite imperm on legs, basically an effect failure. So it just negates an effect. So if you know the opposing deck and you know that's their combo piece, hey, I just negated your effects. You can't search your card. Oh, you pass? Thank you. My turn. Okay, now this is the best card in the deck besides Zeus and Dragoon and Utopia and Boral Sword. This card is your win con, like your normal win con. Your opponent can't add cards from their deck to their hand. It is unaffected by card effects. You can shuffle a card during either player's turn. Basically, it's a quick effect. And then it floats, so you get yourself your Megazords back, and then afterwards go into an Infinitrak play, or not. But there is a really cool combo that I do want to talk to you about. It does show up. This card is really good. The Infinitrak is it's for the grind game. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it sucks, you don't summon it very much. Well, the reason why you main deck, like you extra deck the Infinitrak, is because it helps with your grind game. So, like, if you lose your Magnus, like, you might not win. at all, because I accidentally took a card out of the deck. I will fix that once I'm done. But you probably won't win, because you don't have like an alternative win condition. Like, if your win con is gone like super easily by a kaiju, like, why the fuck are you playing? You need to have some resilience. You need to survive. You need to survive, pretty much. Like, I don't understand why some people are like, oh, it's a shit card. I disagree with you 100%, and I will debate you on it, and I will fight you to the death. This card is really good. And I would say, if you're not going to run Utopia double, you could run number 27, this Dreadnoid ship, and then put the ship, summon the ship with like all of your rank 4s, give it like 4 materials, or 3 to 4 materials, then summon Magnus on top of it, 4 material Magnus, which is like 1 card, and then you could put Zeus on it, give 5 material Zeus, or if you're really, really stupid, you could put Zeus on top of your Magnus, and have like a 9 material Zeus. That's happened before, and people get pissed off about it. I don't do that very often, because I'm like, hey, I can have a Magnus on the field that's unaffected, and then next turn I can XZ summon with 1 material and just summon a Zeus and a Magnus, and by that point it's game. Like, I've had a Dragoon, a Magnus, and a Zeus out. That is game. That is game in most circumstances. That is game. So this is a really weird pick, because people are like, why are you running XD's monsters that are not the Super Quants? Because alphan initiates these toolboxes, and this card is got some really good cool combos with the Infinitrak. This is one reason why you should run the Infinitrak, is because if you're going turn 2 and your opponent has a really big board and their monster is technically not unaffected by card effects, you can just be like, hey, I'm going to steal your monster and take that monster with Big Eye, and say you have 2 XZ's monsters, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to link summon with my 3 XZ's monsters. Big Eye is off the fields. Oh, hey, Infinitrak gives me my Big Eye in the graveyard. I just got to take one of your monsters with my Infinitrak, make it a material for Big Eye, and then steal a monster. That Infinitrak is a 1 card, 3 monsters cleared off your opponent's board. Like, I don't know why people are stupid, but some people are stupid. 3 monsters gone. 3. Utopia double. If they hand trap you, go into Utopia double. Problem solved. Just do a whole bunch of damage. Very simple to understand. Basically, what this card does is give you double for nothing, and then it special summons Utopia, the vanilla Utopia. It gives it, I think, it doubles its attack. Yes, if I remember correctly. I should know this, because I should know this. It makes its attack 5,000, and then you give yourself double or nothing, and it can make a second attack during this turn after you negate your attack with Utopia. And then it becomes 10,000 attack. Game. This card is bad. It's bad. I know it has a really good effect on paper where you can draw a card every time you XZ summon underneath it. But when you link summon and waste your resources on this card, you are not able to, you're not able to summon Magnus, because you just wasted your resources on this card. I'd rather summon a Dragoon and a Lusty Rex on the board, or a Dragoon and a Zeus on the board. This card can't be destroyed by card effects, but really, whenever I summon it doesn't really do much for me. Like, it does do stuff when you have, like, a really brick hand. But, like, if you have a brick hand, just summon Dragoon instead. Infinitrak. Basically, I already explained this card. Can't be destroyed by battle. Unaffected by other monster effects. Target an XC's monster in your graveyard. Big Eye, or an XC's monster. This is a 1 card Zeus, or a Big Eye and 3 destructions. And then you target 1 card your opponent controls, attach it to the Big Eye in the graveyard, or your Lusty Rex, or whatever monster you revive. And hey, I gotta steal something with Big Eye. Big Eye is gone for this monster. Hey, Big Eye is back on the board. Hey, I just stole your monster. I can link with those two, maybe summon a Dragoon as well, with the Vert, because I stole 2 monsters this turn. And hey, look at this. I just got a whole bunch of shit. And you could probably summon a Dragoon. And then you can also have a Zeus, because you have that Big Eye that is on the board. It'll be a 1-material Zeus, but don't do that. You just 2 monster steals equals a Vert, which means a Dragoon. Just this card allows you to survive after like a falling out. Like, this card is really good. I know people, it's a controversial opinion, but it's really good. Like, especially if you're running Big Eye in your deck. Like, trust me. Boral Sword. If you have 4 monsters on the field and you just don't have the field spell, just OTK your opponent with this. This card is also the deck's out to Dragoon. So if your opponent is using Dragoon, summon Boral Sword. Basically, what this guy does is it gains the attack of the opponent's monster. And your opponent can't activate cards and effects in response to this card. And it is so freaking good. Vert. Instantly give you a Dragoon by just getting rid of the garnets in your deck. Hey, I got Dragoon. Can't be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card with card effects. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. Boom! Boom! And it negates an effect. It's not once per turn, the burn effect. Like, yeah, that's a win con on its own. Like, I know a lot of people say, hey, Dragoon isn't a win con, but like, if your deck can't beat Dragoon, it can't beat Dragoon. And that's pretty much it. That is Super Quants for you. This is a very in-depth 101 Super Quant deck profile on how to play the deck. I have played it for like 5 years. If you guys have questions on tags or have tag recommendations, I will definitely hear them. But I know my deck. I know Super Quants. I would run Prosperity over Desires, technically, if I can afford Prosperity. Just answering your questions. And I know the Infinitrak is weird. And before you guys let me know to put Barricade Board Blocker in this deck, are you stupid? You literally have to waste 2 monsters to summon Barricade Board Blocker. And at that point, you already have the field spell in the graveyard. Why? If anything, you should waste resources to just give yourself the field spell in the very beginning. And you're wasting 2 monsters. At the end of the game, you should be trying to OTK your opponent. Like, you should eventually have a board that just lets you OTK the opponent. Why waste presence for a card that literally Red Layer does? Like, if Red Layer is special summoned, or summoned in general, you just give yourself the field spell back from the graveyard. So why run a card that requires way too many resources to give yourself the field spell? If anything, you should be running Hita instead. But granted, I don't think Hita is very good. Granted, I did want to put it in my deck just to fucking show off a Starlight for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Extravaganza that's coming up. But no, no. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you can't tell, I am very passionate about this deck. I know the side deck could use some work, but in general, the deck is fun. I wouldn't say it's competitive. I will send you to a more competitive Super Quant deck profile that I think does a lot better than this. But if you're wanting to go for the old-fashioned Magnus Turbo build, this is the better. Like, this is probably the best way to build it. Like, you could run the Performage, like the Performapal engine with the, not the Performapal, the Performage Trick Clown engine with the Juggler and the Trick Clown. But I don't like those. Like, you could run those instead of the Fenanites, but I like having the Brigandine that I can search, as well as have discard fodder that's recycling at the same time. Like, these cards are more universal, and they have more of a use, in my opinion. And if you want to, you could run the Kali Yuga engine. I will probably link a video that has footage on how to do that, but also you search the fog blade with them. So, like, I know there are different alternatives, and I know there's going to be people, like, saying, why aren't you running that over that? Well, there's my reason why. And I hope you guys appreciated my deck profile. I know there could be some changes in the deck. I 100% agree that